So a few weeks ago, we did an episode where we kind of got to know Michael a little better. We talked about 5 different phases of my life and 5 leadership lessons that I didn't learn in the moment, but looking back, I could see that, yep, that's what that phase of my life taught me. Today, we're going to do the same thing with Michelle. Hello, welcome to the M Squared Leadership Conversation, a space where we talk honestly about the real challenges leaders face and what it actually takes to lead well in the real world. I'm Michael, that's Michelle, we're M Squared Leadership. Welcome in, we're so glad you're spending a little time with us today.
Yeah, glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm excited about today's episode. Like I said in the intro, we unpacked my life a little bit in a prior episode, and today we're going to do the same with Michelle. I don't know that we'll get 5 different things because everybody's life is different, and the way yours plays out is different than mine.
Sure.
And so, let's just start with tell us about your journey and, what kind of started you on this path of even wanting to have something to say about this today.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to know that, the way, the environment in which you were raised, it shapes you.
Absolutely.
It sets those neural pathways in your brain of how you're going to think, how you're going to respond, what you're going to do, how you react all throughout your life. And some things are just so ingrained and they're so good. And, it was things that your parents or your grandparents or your environment put into you that's so good. And it's important to stop and think about those things and reflect on them and be thankful and grateful for them. And then, as we all know, there's some that become self-limiting beliefs that we have to undo. But I think that was the reason why we wanted to kind of journey through our life, our little, talk about ourselves a little bit and give you an idea of what kind of shaped us and led us to be the people that we are and that we're trying to grow and we're trying to become.
Yeah, I think that's so important, and the point that you just made, I think is valuable for everybody and anybody who might see this at some point. And it's an example of, not to put ourselves out there as we are the ones you should follow and do everything like we do, but this is the kind of thing, the kind of exercise that a person might go through that you can really glean a lot from. Just kind of going back and unpacking what has happened to me in my life, what experiences, what journey I've had that has led me to this place where I am now. And if you never stop and think about it, then you're leaving so much on the table just untapped that you could potentially benefit from, and reviewing your own journey and what shaped you, and it helps you to understand others better, I think.
And I think that it's one of those habits that we think is important, which is reflection.
Yes.
And I guess I also just want to say that because it's not like I want to do a whole podcast episode about me.
This is not anything you would have really ever volunteered for.
No.
But you see the value of it.
The value of it, and also just that maybe we can set an example of the way that you can go through your life and, compartmentalize, separate, the good from the bad and learn from it, and also be grateful. Our son is going through a major transition right now, and one of the lessons that we've been trying to help him with is that friction will lead to changes in your life. You usually never go from just everything is great, so I'm just going to throw it all out the window and do something different. Usually it's the friction in life that will lead you to the next thing that you're going to do. You have to have some things that are uncomfortable, but don't focus on that uncomfortable moment that moves you into the next good thing in your life. and throw away that season of your life
Yeah.
just because of that uncomfortable moment that brought you out of it. So that's one lesson that we've been trying to teach him as he's going through. So anyway, we'll just dive in now, and y'all can edit out any of that needs to be edited out. So my childhood, I was raised in a pastor's home all my life. I think my dad became a pastor when I was like 3 or 4 years old, was his first pastorship. So that's really all that I've ever known, is just being in a preacher or a pastor's home. Mm-hmm. They were servants. They're just the people that were going to serve others no matter what.
They still are.
They still are to this day. And it's such a beautiful thing. And they learned that from my great-grandparents, my mom's grandparents. They were just simple people. Their parents had immigrated over and to the United States, and my great-grandparents did whatever it took to carve out a little life. They worked at the chicken plant most of their lives. I think my grandfather never learned to read and write. Mm-hmm. He drove the chicken truck mm-hmm. and oversaw the crews that caught the chickens. My grandmother became one of those expert on the line that knew how to cut the chickens, and she would train other people, and she was very well respected. It was, lots of just blue collar work in their lives. They retired and lived off of Social Security and grew garden, put up vegetables, fruit trees, and I would go spend my summers with them. And I didn't know until much later in life just how poor they were, mm-hmm. How little they had, because it seemed like such a big, vibrant place to be. It was so alive. We were always in the garden, always picking flowers or doing, peeling, shelling vegetables, putting vegetables up, mm-hmm. sharing with the community. She was always making pies and casseroles. She loved reading recipes. And the community just knew if anybody had anything wrong in their life, she was sending over not a pie, a crate of food.
Right.
Big family, anybody that came in, they were going to go away with, a big box full of frozen vegetables, canned goods, a bag of flour. There's just those kind of people. And they helped, even my dad, who was an in-law in the family, they made a big impression on him.
So your mom came up, she was very close with, those were her grandparents,
those
your
were her
great-grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So she was obviously influenced heavily by them. Mm-hmm. But your mom and dad got married at a young age. Mm-hmm. And so Pop came in and was also heavily influenced by them. Just
their generosity, the way they kind of took, my parents under their wing and showed them how to live. They were just young babies when they got married, and but more than, today we would call it adulting. They showed them how to adult. Mm-hmm. But it's those values that they put into them, and it was just serving others and loving others. And I think that's what really drew my father in. My mom and dad both had very rough childhoods. Their immediate, their parents were a mess, and they had very hard times, very hard childhoods. But their grandparents in their life, were more of the ones that really raised them and put the values into them. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from them. And so my parents passed along to me that just a lot of good hard work. My dad never let us sleep late in the summer. That was not a thing. He would be, get on up. You're either in the yard mowing or going to the garden. Help when we lived near my grandfather, when we were not living off somewhere pastoring, we'd have to get up and get in the garden and help him. And it was just such a rich life. I mean, I hated it in the moment because every kid wants to sleep late on their summer break.
Sure.
but it was a life of service, and that's deeply ingrained in me. It's actually my love language, is when, somebody, without having to ask somebody, cleans the kitchen for me, which my sweetheart did for me yesterday, or, puts gas in my car or washes my car, something like that. That's my love language.
Acts of service.
Acts of service is my love language, and it's how I love people. I'm constantly trying to do. So that's probably one of my big early lessons that I learned early in my life, was that service to others is a beautiful life. Now, where the self-limiting belief can come in on that, and the lesson that I had to learn is that your value doesn't come from what you can produce and do for others.
Okay. I feel like there's a lot there. Tell me a little bit about your journey of kind of self-realization, because I feel like this is a path that you've walked, and you have over time come to realize that while service to others is a wonderful thing, there can be a trap there if you're not careful. How is that kind of?
Well, it's played out in feeling the need to always be producing and always be doing something, that's how others are going to love you, is if you can do something for them. And that's just not true. There's value in who I am as a person, not what I produce. And I think probably, on some level, that logically. But it's just so ingrained in you that that's how you got love, response, positive reinforcement, because you would do for others, and it's like, oh, thank you so much, and you can see how that could become a trap for somebody who does love to serve others.
Because one of the things that we've come to learn in our own journeys of self-discovery and studying leadership and all the things that are connected with it is, you just said it logically, blah, blah, blah. But we human beings don't always operate according to logic. We just don't.
We don't lock in
as
on
much
the
as
logic.
we would like to think we do.
Emotion is the first thing that we lock in on, not logic. And so then you have to get past the emotion and get to the logic of things. And as you mature and get older, you definitely have the ability to do that in a better capacity. You have a better capacity to be able to do that.
Correct. But if you're not careful, and if you're not intentional, and if you're not thoughtful about that, I think it's fair to say a lot of people live on that emotional level and never really dig down to what's logical.
Yeah. And so there come a time, I hate to say it, but it was probably only about 7 or 8 years ago, that I read a book by Jeannie Allen, and I believe the title of it was Nothing to Prove. And I read that book and just practically cried all the way through it, because I realized I was in a very high-performing, high-pressure job where there was a lot of performing that I had to do. And I think I really, in that moment in my life, felt like the only time I got any kind of positive reinforcement was when I was doing for people. And then it got to a point that all of that was just expected of me. And there was not really the positive reinforcement of thank you. It's just, that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. When I was probably overperforming, overproducing beyond what was healthy for me.
I feel like there's a lot there. I don't want to hamstring the conversation too much, but can we unpack that just a little bit? Because what I'm hearing you saying is that you were in a situation where you went above and beyond the real requirements of the job on such a regular basis that you raised the bar on yourself.
I did.
And then you felt the pressure to keep that up, and it just became the new expectation. It became the new baseline level.
It's like a dopamine hit a little bit.
Okay.
And you can keep trying to reach that next level of, and to me, what I realized is there was insecurity and, flaws in myself that I kept trying to perform out of. I kept trying to prove myself to others. They didn't need the proof. But I needed to prove.
You almost became a victim of your own high performance.
Yes. I really believe that happened to me.
That's fascinating.
And, reading the book, Nothing to Prove, and this is the reason it's so important for self-growth and, to keep reading books and learning more about yourself, and not in a narcissistic way, but just in a way that if you're miserable, okay? When things are not going well and your relationships are not flourishing as they need to. So figure out what's going on. Figure out what's really at the root of it. And for me, it was that I was confusing this service to others as something that proved my worth. Okay. And that's not true. Service to others really should be about the others.
Ooh.
And not
but if
about
we're not
yourself.
Careful, we'll make it about us.
It absolutely became about me. The service to others became about me.
And it seems like such a contradiction, because service to others is just by definition, it's for others. But then you can turn the benefits, like I saw on a TV program that we enjoy, they were looking for, is there a truly selfless act? And it was a whole big thing. But anyway, even something like doing for others we can make it about ourselves at some point if we're not careful. That's fascinating.
And, Pastor Reaver told us too one time, where he was teaching a lesson or something, and I don't even remember what he said, because this particular line struck me so hard that I about fell out of my chair. But it was like, if you really believe you have a servant's heart, see how you respond when people treat you like a servant.
Yes.
And then you'll know if you truly have a servant's heart. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, because I would be like, well, I'll do that, but if they try to start taking advantage of me, then I'm blah 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 blah. Well, that should be a little check, But anyway, I think that was like, deeply ingrained in me, and now I feel like I've kind of come full circle, where I'm not trying to prove anything to myself or really other people. I'm truly seeing people for who they are, and not trying to step in and help in ways that I shouldn't even be helping, but just to love people and to serve others where I can. And it's much more fulfilling to me now.
So serving from a healthy place,
Yes.
instead of some sense of obligation, or from a sense of using service to try to scratch some itch that I have.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Well, I married at a very young age.
I remember this.
I was just a young little thing when I got married. Married my best friend. So happy. Don't regret a day. I mean, I could have gotten married even earlier, I think, and we would have been just fine. But I was very mature for my age. But there were so many things we didn't know, when we first got married. And the more we learned about life, I think we've always had a hunger to we could be more. We could maybe, finish college. There wasn't a lot of college graduates on either side of our family. And we're like, oh, maybe we could do college, and we could do this career or that career, or we could do whatever. But there were so many things I didn't know. How to get the oil changed in the car. That was terrifying to me, and I still hate going to get the oil changed. I don't want to do that. But I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to interact with, the mechanics and feel like I could get this done. And I remember one time there was an issue with, not that I agree with this now. I don't want to take out student loans, but there was something with my student loan when I was trying to go to college. So what I needed to do for that semester was just get like a little personal loan, and I had to go to the banker and see if I could even do that to get my first, that particular semester of school paid for until my student loan come in, and then I could pay that off and blah, all the things. We were trying to figure all that out. Terrified. Absolutely terrified to go into, have to sit down in front of a banker. And there were so many things that, I just didn't know how to do. Apply for different jobs and work a brand new job, change jobs. I've had many different jobs in my lifetime. And it's been either because I was following you as you were moving through your careers, or we moved somewhere new and I had to get a different kind of job, and it was all just terrifying to me to do these things. But there was something in me that I knew I wanted a little bit more, and we could do a little bit better if I could do this, or, went to work for a law firm and had a friend that was like, what if we went and got an associate's degree in paralegal studies? And I'm like, okay. I mean, I love that. It's, being a paralegal and working in a law firm is a little bit like having to do research, and I love that. I've read Nancy Drew since, I was little bitty thing, and I've, thought being a paralegal might be a little bit like being a detective and get to do some stuff, and absolutely loved it. She quit. I finished it, but at least she got me started, and I got my associate's degree. Went to work for a law firm, became a supervisor there. But all of that was terrifying. And then we moved to Baltimore, and I needed to find a new job. Big city.
Big city.
From Mississippi.
Unlike anywhere we'd ever lived.
Terrified. And I knew that to live there, the cost of living was so high. I needed to go get
we had to have a second income.
So I'm all around Baltimore City trying to find a job, landed a job at a huge law firm. One of the ways to get there and get Peyton to school and do the things was I had to ride the train from our suburb into downtown. Again, terrifying to ride the train every day, going through inner city Baltimore and going to work there. It's just, when I look back on my little young life and all the things that I did, I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, you should be.
I did so many hard things.
So many hard things.
And I was terrified.
But you did it anyway.
Do it scared.
Do it scared. I love that.
There's no better way to move through life. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be scared at times. There are still things that scare me. Now, I will tell you this. I have built a muscle to where it's not as scary. I have now built enough confidence in myself that no matter what I've got to do, I'm never to the point of sick or whatever. I've just built the muscle. I will figure out a way to do that and do it pretty well, if not perfect. I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, but I can do it pretty well because I built that muscle. I've done so many things that I was just terrified to do, but I went and did them anyway, and I lived through it. I messed up, learned lessons, but I didn't die. I mean,
and I think this is such an important point here. You did it even though there was no roadmap. So what I would say to our audience is, don't freak out if you can't find a roadmap for where it is that you want to go. Do it anyway, Because in the figuring it out and
Yes.
building your own roadmap, you build those exact muscles that you were just talking about. It's the resilience. It's the innovativeness. It's the ability to create something from nothing, so to speak, and you build that creative muscle that's going to benefit you so much down the road, because the next time you come across something that I want to accomplish X, but there's no roadmap for it, you're not intimidated. You just do it. You figure it out.
Back in our day, we didn't have as much of the internet as there is now. So you didn't always have pictures of what it looked like to be on a train, or you didn't have,
Yeah.
Now you can pretty much Google anything and get an idea. This is what the parking lot looks like. This is what the thing looks like. Here's the map to where you need to go. We used to go try to find restaurants. We didn't know. It's like, it's over there on McDowell Road somewhere south of blah, blah, blah. We'd be like, okay. We would just take off and go. We didn't know exactly how to get there. Sometimes we'd have to pull into this parking lot, turn around and go back, and it's over there. Or you stop at the gas station and ask people, hey, do you know where so... That used to be a thing. And I think it built in us, you don't have to know every little part of what's happening next. Just go, and you'll build that muscle and that confidence in yourself that I can handle this. I've got this.
I've heard people talk about it like this: is what's tempting to us as people is we want to see the destination in order to take the next step toward the destination. We want it to always be, I have a clear vision of where I'm going ultimately before I begin the journey. You don't always have that luxury.
Yes.
Sometimes all you are going to be able to see is the next step.
Yes.
But you have to trust the process, trust that next step, and then from there you'll figure out what the next step is, and then you will eventually arrive at your
Absolutely. All right,
Okay.
I got one more little thing I want to talk about, and then we'll wrap this up. As we've already mentioned, I'm kind of a performer, a producer, an executor. I like to get things done. I'm a busy bee person. I like to go fast.
Okay.
I walk fast.
You do walk fast.
When nobody's in the car with me, I drive fast. I go fast. If I'm going to cook supper, it's usually not a 2-hour prep and whatever. I'm a 30-minute person. I pretty much want to make my meals in 30 minutes and be done. And I go through life so fast. And I remember when we had Peyton, I regret to say that I just rushed through every little phase of his life.
We both did.
It was like, okay, well, when he's able to eat solid foods,
that'll be a game
it's going to be
changer.
different. It's going to be better. When he's able to sit up, when he's able to walk, when he's able to do this, and God forbid, when he was able to talk, and boy, didn't we regret that one.
He's not stopped since.
No. And I rushed through just about every phase of his life, just wishing for the next thing. And not that we were not good parents and in the moment and that sort of thing. We were. But I just feel like so many times I've rushed through, okay, when we get through with this, then we'll do that. And then when we get through with this, instead of just really sinking
Instead of sitting in that moment.
just loving where you are right now, just enjoying right here, right now. And I regret rushing through everything. And now I'm kind of rush adverse. When I feel rushed now, I'm like, it aggravates me a little bit. I want to breathe. I want to enjoy my coffee. I want to look at the birds. I want to
savor
a little bit. And I think the sooner in life that you can learn that lesson, the more peace you will have.
Yeah.
Being present is more important than fill in the blank. And sometimes it's being present. Today that could translate to being present is more important than perception, or trying to capture the moment. I remember we were on Peyton's senior trip to, I think we went to Disney with his grandparents and his cousin, who is like his sister. And we were having just the best time. We were at Epcot, and I remember exactly where we were. We were cutting up. Of course, we had food and drink, and we're just going around. And I saw this family taking a picture. And I was like, man, we need to take more pictures. Like in my mind, I'm like, we're not capturing enough of this. And I saw that family. They were in front of the fountain, and they were, doing the selfie, and they did the thing, and they were
Big
all just
smiles.
it was just the picture perfect with the fountain behind them and everything. And as soon as they put the camera down, their faces dropped. They were mad at each other. They were fussing, and they were back to da-da-da-da. And that really stuck in my brain, because I was like, I'd rather not have one picture, but have that memory of us just all carrying on, than pretending like we got the picture and we put it on Instagram or whatever, and it looks like something. You're trying to put up this, perception that we had a great time. I'd rather have a great time than pretend like I had a great time to the world. I'd rather be in the moment. So I think, that phase of my life, when I look back on it, I've never regretted just stopping for a few minutes and laughing, or lingering over a meal with friends, and using the moments to get to know each other better and to love on each other. There's one other thing that I can remember, as we were a little bit later in life, and we were, starting to slow down and recognize, ooh, this is important. We went on a cruise for my parents' 50th anniversary. And the whole family got to go. All my parents' kids, and most of the grandkids got to go too. And our nephew, Ethan, one morning, it was one of the first mornings on the cruise. He was an early riser and liked to drink coffee. And he found us down in, Mike and I were up early. We were still in our work routine of getting up really early. And he found us down before the buffet even opened, but they'd have the coffee open, and you could go sit down and look out the window and watch the sunrise. And he found us one morning down there, and we had a long conversation. And he was, I think, graduating high school, or had just graduated or something. And so it was an important time in his life, where I think he was craving, conversation and pondering the deeper things in life and everything. And we had the best time before any of the rest of the family got up. We were down there for like a couple of hours watching the sunrise, and then finally people started coming in, and the family joined us eventually all. But we had been down there for hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Every morning after that, we would get a little message. Are y'all up yet? Are y'all going down for coffee?
Before long, he was waking us up.
Exactly. And it was like, on into the week, we were winding down, and could sleep a little bit later, but we'd get that little ding of the message. And I was like, that's Ethan. He's ready for us. And we would get up. And even though it was a little bit inconvenient, we would get up so that we could be present with him. And so, being present is more important than convenience.
Yeah.
Being present is more important than fill in the blank. It's just more important. It's not always convenient to be present, to slow down and to just savor the moments, be present in the moments. You don't have any idea the lasting effect that it's going to have on your life just to be present in the moments.
I love that.
So that's probably my last little lesson. But what I wanted to say overall is that my life is nothing super remarkable. I'm not some special person that, you know, my life should be modeled per se. Everybody's life is important and special. And I know it's cheeky and hokey to say that, you know, it's like a tapestry, you know, finely woven together to make a beautiful picture. But I get why they say that. All these different little threads of what you've been through, how you were raised, people that spoke into your life, when you stopped and had moments and relationships and aha moments, and you read a book that changed your way of thinking, and
Yeah,
every
and
one of those is a new color.
even the gross things, like you alluded to earlier, the thing that prompted me that I don't want this anymore, so it moves me and motivates me on to something better. That's all a part of the journey. It's just another thread in the tapestry.
Absolutely. And it's everybody's tapestry is unique and it's beautiful in its own way. It's not going to look like somebody else's.
And it shouldn't.
No. But it's beautiful, and I think that's where we get back to, if we were just curious.
Yeah.
What does that thread mean in your life? You know, I've noticed when you do this, when this happens, you always respond this way. How did you get to be able to respond that way? Be curious about people and their behaviors, or what's making them tick. And be interested in other people's tapestry. You know, be able to look at, stop long enough to be able to look at each person as this beautiful thing that's put together because of everything they've endured, they've been through, the lessons life has taught them. And, you know, just that's the way you can love people and add value to people. And as leaders, because this is a leadership podcast,
Yes, it is.
this is one of the most important things you can do, is to really see other people.
So good. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today.
I feel like I talked a lot.
Well, it was your episode, so you should have talked a lot. Before we go, why don't you take us back through the big takeaway, the big picture points that you want us to
Sure.
to have gleaned from this time?
Absolutely. So I really believe that a life of service to others is so beautiful. You just have to be careful that it's not used to prove your worth.
Okay.
And then I also think that you should do it scared.
Do it
Whatever
scared.
is happening in your life,
Whatever it is.
do it scared. If you don't know what's happening, how to do it, it don't matter. Do it scared. It's fine. And then also just being present is more important. Fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank.
Whatever it is that you've got that's keeping you from being present is more important.
Love it.
Yeah. And then just, we're all different tapestries, and you know, they're all beautiful if we can just stop and be curious about each other.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Yes.
And thanks to all of you for spending a few minutes with us in the M Squared Leadership Conversation. You know, Michelle, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about being willing to ask better questions. And I think we've done that today. So until next time, I invite you to stay curious, lead well, and keep the conversation going. Thanks so much.
Bye, you guys.